duties that a school board member performs is wide-ranging, from making decisions about curriculum to creating and upholding board policies to managing fiscal responsibilities.
The way that these responsibilities are prioritized could determine the academic success and achievement for Collier County.
The members of the school board have the ability to influence the quality of education and impact the lives of students within their county.
A candidate's morals and stance on pressing issues can determine what changes are going to be made if they are elected to the school board.
Candidates that have held other positions of leadership or have been involved in the community have their accomplishments to speak for them. Each candidate has also published their own websites to share their bios, individual platforms, and ideas.
In an effort to help facilitate Collier County voters making informed decisions, the WAVE has conducted interviews with the school board candidates discussing their goals for their time on the board, as well as new things they may bring to the table.
The candidates were asked a standard set of questions ranging from their background, philosophy of education, and budgeting. Follow-up questions are only based on whether a member of the editorial board has a need for clarification.
In the interests of non-bias and nonpartisanship, the editorial board at the WAVE has decided to present the raw, unedited interviews of each Collier County School Board candidate on our website. The candidates were made aware of this in our invitation to them.
Elections have consequences, and voting is your right. If you are not 18, your voice can still be heard. Engage with your family and your neighbors.
In here. Good morning.
Good morning.
How you doing this morning?
I'm doing fine, except I got caught in traffic.
Yeah.
So,
Coming on
I'm all the way up, almost to Immokalee.
Oh, really?
So coming on, I left at 5 till 9.
Wow.
Traffic was backed up. Lights were not in my favor.
Oh, okay, you all set?
Yes.
All right, good. All right, have fun, guys.
Thank you.
And if Mr. Terry needs more water, there's the fridge back here, okay? All right. Got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Ready? Okay. Good morning, Mr. Terry. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for coming here today and being with us. We truly appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. The purpose of these interviews is to inform voters and stakeholders on the importance of the role of the school board in education and increase student involvement in education. To begin, we'd like to introduce ourselves as the editorial board, and then we will proceed with the interview.
Okay, very good.
So, starting with me, I'm the editor-in-chief. My name is Jorge Rodriguez.
I'm the executive editor, Sophia.
I'm Madison Moore, I'm the managing editor.
Now, what grade, are all of you seniors?
Yes, we're seniors.
We're seniors.
And we're juniors.
Oh, okay,
Mhm.
good.
I'm Helena Davis, and I'm the opinions editor.
I'm Annabelle Fraser, and I'm the features editor.
I'm Elle Richardson and I'm the science editor.
I'm Grant Sorrell, and I'm the web design editor.
I'm Logan Yarnell, and I'm the digital media editor.
Okay,
He's going to be.
very good. He's videotaping.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yes.
Try to put my best side forward.
All right, so I guess we'll get going then.
Mhm.
To begin, we'd like to discuss any background that you may have. So, is there any background experience that you have that qualifies you to continue being on the school board?
Well, I've been in education my whole life, just about, starting at about 6 years of age, because I was either in school or I was teaching in school. I've taught in colleges and coached in colleges. I've taught in high schools and middle schools. I have not taught in elementary. But for summers, I was a lifeguard and I taught swimming lessons. And most of them were real little guys and gals that wanted to learn to swim. So anyway, we moved here in 1978. My wife, my 2 children, both graduates of Naples High School. I was the teacher and the coach at Naples. I coached football, basketball, and baseball, 1 year basketball. And then from there I went to East Naples Middle School, where I was an assistant principal, and then to Lely High School, where I was the assistant principal and then the principal at Lely High School from 1996 to 2003. So I know a lot of people down in Marco who had probably about the time you were born, though, when I was principal there. But anyway, yeah, or maybe even earlier than that. But anyway, I know that a lot of people down in Marco came down here a lot from Lely, because at that time there was no Marco Island Academy. And then I left there to go open up a new high school, Palmetto Ridge High School. So I moved up to the other end of town, opened that school in 2004, and was principal there for 5 years, then retired. And the next year was elected was appointed by the governor to serve out a term of somebody who resigned from the school board. And I ran for school board, and I've been in there for 3 terms now, 13 years. And I think I have a general idea how the system works.
Thank you.
Okay?
We've reviewed your campaign materials. Could you tell us what best describes what you hope to accomplish on the board?
Well, right now, we're in really good shape academically. And when I'm talking about all public schools. I include charter schools and public schools, okay? I think our test scores throughout the district and all of our schools have put us number 5 in the state, which I think is pretty good. We were 33 when we started back in 2010, so we've come up quite a bit. Our graduation rate has improved throughout the district from 72% 10 years ago to 92.7% now. We've done a lot to work with our migrant students. It's hard to believe that Collier County is really a minority school district. We have 62% of our students are Hispanic, or no, not 62% are minority. That's black and Hispanic. The rest are 35% are white students within our school system. And out in Immokalee, we've worked real hard with our migrant students. They were graduating 10 years ago at 48%, which is only half of the students who even graduated, and now it's at 90%. Wow. So I think academically we've done real well. But my purpose is to maintain that, to keep it going and even improve even more, because you can't stand still. Secondly, we've got a new superintendent that we're going to be hiring.
Right.
So we've got to make sure we have people in there that know what to look for in a superintendent. So I think those are the 2 most important things. There are other things. I think safety, school safety is very important. And that was one of the things that drove me down here with Marco. I met with Miss Watt, I think 5 or 6 years ago now. And it was right after Hurricane Irma. And some of the, one of the gates out here was blown away and nobody could find it anywhere. And there was a concern about the buildings and everything out here, and so we went to work to try to help get some money for Marco Island Academy to build this facility. So that was important. So school safety is very important to me. You can't learn if you don't feel safe. You know, I mean,
that's exactly right.
So anyway, those are probably 3 of my most important things.
Thank you. Is there a specific reason that you are running for a seat or re-election on the school board?
Probably pretty much the same answer that I just gave you. I want to make sure that we have continuation of the progress we've made over the last 10 years. I also want to take part in hiring the next superintendent. This superintendent has been here now for 11 years. Hopefully we'll hire somebody that will be here for 10 or 11 years more. Because I think we've found that consistency is the most important thing. If you have consistent teachers at schools, consistent administrators, consistent superintendents, the school system seems to thrive. If you're changing every 2 or 3 years, it's not a good thing. So I want to make sure we take care of that business. Then the other things, the school safety, it's important to me. It's one of my most important things.
Moving on from that, are there any previous accomplishments of the school board that you plan to build upon or make further contributions to?
Well, I hired Dr. Patton, our superintendent. I was in on that when I took over on the board. We got rid of a superintendent that was not, in our opinion, getting the job done. We hired Dr. Patton, which was one of our major accomplishments, I think. The other, as I mentioned before, has been our progress academically in the district, everybody. And also, you know, we've, since I took over, or since I was on the board 10 years ago, we've added probably 3 or 4 new charter schools. The latest being Naples Classical Academy up in North Naples. I think charters definitely have a place, and I think that it's important that we support all of our students in Collier County. I mean, I don't care if you're black, white, brown, yellow, whatever you are, or you're Protestant, Catholic, Jewish, whatever. You know, you deserve the support of the school board. And so this is not a political game. It's our children. They're our children. Okay. And I think we need to make sure that we serve all the children.
Oh, thanks. Perfect. So now that we've established a background, we're going to shift our attention towards schools. So in the last 5 years, there have been 2 major hurricanes and a pandemic. So how would you support the students and staff in the event of such a crisis?
Well, I think we did. You know, during Irma, it was difficult because nobody knew, or not Irma, during the pandemic, nobody knew what the pandemic held. I mean, nobody knew for sure what to do. So you had to do what you thought was the safest thing. So we closed our schools down for 2 months at the end of 2020 or 2020 and went virtual. And personally, I don't think virtual is a good way to go. I think students need to be with other students and need to learn to share and work together and all those good things about society. But we ended up the next year, and of course everybody was, I mean, every charter and everybody else kind of had their own route they wanted to go, but we opened up our schools with masks. I don't like masks, I don't like to wear masks, but sometimes when you're unsure about what you're dealing with, you have to make decisions that we think are the good for everybody. Our objective in the first year was to get students back in schools. The first semester we had 52% of our students back. Second semester we had 94% back. So I think the parents and students gained confidence in the course of that year to get everybody back in school. And of course, the last year we went with mask optional, and it's still mask optional if that's what you want to wear. So everybody has a choice to do what they want to do. I think we'd handle that the same way. The hurricanes, I mean, we opened up in Irma, we opened up 29 shelters. That's 29 schools we had to open up and staff, provide meals, everything else for students. And then this time we only opened, I think, about 6 shelters because the way it turned out, it became a coastal storm. You know, it moved up the coast, and actually you all were the first ones to be hitting both Irma and Ian. You know, so you know, you took kind of the blunt of the blow on Irma. On Ian, it kind of went by you, not real quick, but it didn't, I think, cause the damage that Irma did. So anyway, I think those are things that we've done. I think we've handled it pretty well. We worked very closely with the management of the district, of the county, and emergency management service, and work with them. And if they requested a school to be opened up as a shelter, we opened it up. And I think that's worked out well.
Thank you. So, could you please describe what you believe a perfect school would look like? In your own words.
See, if I really wanted to butter you up, I'd say like Mark Well. A perfect school is kind of hard to define. I think in my mind it's a school where the faculty and the staff are totally interested in what's good for children, you know, and to make sure that everybody there has that feeling of wanting to see people succeed, everybody. I think that it's a school where students enjoy coming to school and where they work well together and that, you know, that they go to their classes, they do their work, but also they have chances to, like this, I mean, you have a chance here to learn what it's like to interview somebody who's running for political office. I mean, you're on the staff of the newspaper, you also have a yearbook, you also have plays and theater. I think those things are very important. I always said that academics was the soul of the school, and or was the heart of the school, that fine arts are the soul of the school, and that athletics and other things are the spirit of the school. And I think if you can accomplish all three of those things, I think you have pretty much a perfect school.
It certainly sounds like a perfect school to me.
Yeah. Does it sound like your school?
Sounds like it.
Yeah,
Sounds like
well,
it.
that's good. Then you're a perfect school, I guess, according to me. Whatever that gets you.
Sure. So, how do you feel that schools should approach very controversial topics such as religion or politics in the academic setting?
Well, that's a difficult question because, of course, in the state of Florida, we do have courses and the course codes that are available to school districts. If they want to go, they can teach religion. They have to teach all religions. They can't just teach one or be favorable to one or the other. That should be left to private schools. But in public schools, you serve everybody. So, you know, that's the way that what we handle that is that, you know, we serve everybody. We don't have a course in religion. If we do, we could with the state. But controversial topics are tough, especially. I personally think that politics need to stay out of schools. You know, one thing that I always said when I was a principal, that if I ever had a problem, I'd go talk to students, because students tend to be more open. They haven't really formed all these associations with different groups, different political groups and that type of thing. And I think they feel more open to be able to express their feelings to you than possibly a teacher who may be worried about whether they're going to keep their job or not. You know, and so I always felt like if I needed an answer to a question, I'd go talk to students and see what they think about it. So that's what I would do, and that's how I would handle them. Some things, when I first started at Palmetto Ridge, we started out with being very open. People could wear what they wanted to wear. But we found that when we got to our first football game and we had a couple of students who were wearing Confederate flag shirts, and they didn't assault anybody, but they harassed some of our black students, we just had to make the decision that we weren't going to allow you know, the Confederate flag shirts to be allowed at the football game. So we discontinued that. We didn't let them wear those shirts anymore. They went along with it. We didn't have any problems with it, but that stopped that problem that could have developed into a major problem at the school. So, you know, you gotta, when you have a problem, we had a walkout one time at Palmetto Ridge. Not a walkout, but it was teachers were trying to get salary increases, and students were falling in with the teachers in terms of their feelings that we needed to help take care of our teachers more. And we had a student walkout where they went out. We had a big courtyard in the middle, and they all went out and sat down in the courtyard. And so I came out and I started talking to them. We got up and we moved. They moved to another spot. And then I said, let's all get up, you know, get up out here. And I took them, I moved them from there out to the stadium. And then we had student government people come up on the stadium loudspeaker and talk to them about some of the things they were concerned about. And then I had somebody come down, one of the cheerleaders come down, and they started leading them in cheers. And so it ended up with kind of like a pep rally. It started as a student walkout, it ended as a pep rally. And then finally at the end I said, okay, everybody, let's go back to class. And if you want to stay out here, you can. But, you know, it was hot out there. The sun was shining, the bleachers were warm. So I knew they weren't going to stay out there very long. So most of them, probably about 95% of them got up and walked back to class. And the other 5% came back within a half hour. So anyway, that's what we did. That's personal experience.
Yeah.
But my thought too on that was that I always did things thinking of students first. You know, we didn't worry about, at that time with the walkout, we didn't worry about who organized it or who did it or what happened. We just wanted to make it a good experience, let them share, and then get them back into class as soon as we could.
So kind of to clarify, you think that to keep students first and the students in mind in the schools, that things like politics should be kept mostly out of schools, and that we should maintain a more open perspective, like the students would, to keep everyone's best interests.
Yeah, I think politics can be a very dividing issue. I don't think we have room in schools for division. You know, we're there for one purpose, that's to educate children so they can go out in the world and make a contribution. And anything, I used to always say, you never talk about politics, religion, or defensive backfield play in schools. Okay? Because you can always argue about whether you're right or wrong, and people tend to take sides, and then it divides people. And schools need to be a happy place. A place where you feel safe, comfortable, and happy with your classmates and everybody. That doesn't mean you're going to love everybody, but you got to respect everybody.
Thank you.
On the topic of students first, how would you advocate to ensure that students aren't forced into a one-size-fits-all learning model?
Well, of course, we have different levels in public schools. Sometimes it's more difficult in a smaller school because you don't have enough students to fill classes.
Right.
So sometimes that can be difficult. But in our public schools, the bigger schools, we have the ability to put people in different levels, and so that's one way. The other way would be if the teacher in a school like here at Marco Island, if that teacher would have lessons for different levels within that same class. And sometimes you can take and put students in groups where where you don't put all the top students in your class in one group, but you mix the groups with different people. And by doing that, sometimes the people with the lower level of ability are pulled along with the others. Now there's a problem with that in that sometimes people would say that the top group isn't going to progress because they're staying at that same level. So that can be a problem, but it can be addressed by the teacher in the classroom to make sure that everybody's doing their share of the work, and you can bring the lower level student up to a certain level. Does that answer your question?
I think so.
You think so? Okay.
Thank you.
Lastly, we'd like to ask some questions regarding budgeting in CCPS. How should the board support all schools in CCPS regarding safety and security? Because you said that was very important to you.
Well, down here, let's take this for example. Down here, when I met with Miss Watt, I don't know how many years, it was quite a while ago, and you're still in the other building, and I saw what had happened on the hurricane. I felt that we needed to do something to help start the fundraising to get what you have now. Now we didn't get all of it, but what I did was there was a problem with track K, which is where the Eagles are, okay? And there was a group of people who were in favor of the Eagles, and there was another group that wanted to do something with Mark Weiland Academy. So I had to figure out a way to work that out. And then, of course, there were still parents here with kids in Lely High School. So I had three groups that I had to work with, but I wanted to get money for Mark Weiland after talking with her. And so what I came up with was I made a motion at a board meeting that, because the Eagle group wanted to buy track K. And so I made a motion that we take the money when they buy track K and give it to Mark Weiland Academy, which was $1.5 million. Okay? But the problem is that, you know, there were some people that were not in favor of that. The people that were at Lely felt that they were being ignored. So what we did with Lely was we went to Lely High School, met with some parents there, and we upgraded their football stadium, their athletic facility out in the football stadium. So they were happy with that. The track K people were going to be able to buy the thing. Now, I made that motion, and when I made it, I was thinking when we sell it, and Erica Donalds, whose husband now is the representative in Congress, she made the motion that what we do is we pay Mark Weiland Academy immediately for what the cost of the property was worth, and that when we actually sell the property, that money would go back into the school district fund. So that Mark Weiland Academy got the money right away, and then we would get our money when we sold that property. And so that's how we worked that out. But I think that, and I give you that example because it just shows that sometimes if I meet with somebody, it doesn't matter whether it's a original public school person or a charter school person, the idea is to try to solve the problem. It's not to try to just push it off someplace else. So I would definitely try to solve problems.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. What experience do you have with complicated budgets? When you're given a budget for a district, what will be your process to determine if it's a good budget for the system?
Well, my feeling in the budget is that you have programs that you need to fund. I'm anti-cutting programs. So I'm going to have to find some way to get the budget to be able to support those programs. When we went into the recession, we did not cut any programs, from our budget. We kept all the programs going so that we had something going all the time. So my feeling on the budget is I think, you've got to be conscious of what you're dealing with and with the community, because we've done a couple of things with our budget. First of all, we have the third lowest millage rate in the state. Okay, of all the counties, there's 67 counties in the state. Our county has the third lowest millage rate. As a matter of fact, the last year we actually reduced it another 0.5 percentage point. Now, millage rate is what determines what people pay for taxes, for property taxes. Okay, and so we've done that. When we did a referendum, everybody else did a referendum to increase taxes by 1%. Our referendum, all we did was take capital money, which we had extra capital money, and we just asked to be able to move it over to operating so that we could use it for things like teacher salaries and things like that, rather than capital expenses. Mm-hmm. So when I look at the budget, I look first to make sure that we're able to cover all the programs that we need. And then secondly, we don't want to put extra stress on the community for exorbitant taxes. And each year we should look at our programs, and if some are obsolete or we're not using them, then we should get rid of them. And as a matter of fact, when I first got on the board, we had a committee that looked at that each year, and we cut about $70 million in programs in the first 6 years.
Wow.
So that's the way I would look at it. I think you've got to be careful. Some people want to cut, and when you cut, if I cut $100 million out of my budget, then you either have to raise taxes to pay for the programs, or you have to cut the programs. So there's a balance there that you've got to be able to keep.
And in regards to that balance, would you say that with the limited amount of funds that you have from taxpayers and et cetera, would you say that more priority should be given to programs and opportunities for students in schools, or more issues with security like a teacher salary and relief for our disasters like hurricanes?
It's a good question, because it looks at where you're setting your priorities. Where are your priorities? And of course, my priorities, I think, are teachers. The reason I say that is because if you don't have the teachers, you're not going to have the programs. Okay, I mean, you take your teacher, Mr. Scalia. You wouldn't, if he wasn't hired here, you might not have this program.
Right.
And so you've got to kind of balance that. So I would say my first priority would be try to take care of our teachers, so that we get the teachers we need to do the programs we want to have.
And also going off of that, what are the main issues you believe are hurting teacher retention, and how would you plan to combat these issues?
That's a real good question, because that's vital right now. It's the biggest problem I think right now is that for some reason teachers aren't respected like they used to be, and I don't feel it's that way in the schools, because I think the schools, the students are there. You always have the one teacher you don't like, or you don't think's a good teacher. Everybody has those, okay?
Yeah.
But the teachers are lack respect, and it's mainly respect from the total outside community. When I was teaching, schools were a very active place. It was always noisy, and it was always, other than when you're in class, but outside there's chatter and all this is going on, and some kids are getting in trouble, and and stuff like that, and some kids are doing well. But when I retired from being a principal, when you drive by schools during the day, it doesn't look like anything's even going on in there, because it's so quiet. So it's a different view of schools, and if people don't go into schools and find out what they're all about, they get wrong impressions of what students are like. Some people think that if students speak out about something, they're a bunch of bums. They don't really understand what's happening in a school. So, those are, the respect for teachers, I think, is very important. Secondly is salary. People can't hardly afford to live here in Naples and teach here. And that's a shame, because it's very important for you as a student to go out in your community and see a teacher that you might have in school. That contact is very important outside of the school walls. So I think salary is very important. I've been working on trying to find a way that we can help teachers with down payments, because if teachers could get the biggest hindrance of teachers buying a house is the down payment, especially young teachers who are just coming out of college and getting started. So if we can find a way to help them earn or make that down payment, they can make the payment every month. That's not a problem. It's the down payment that's the problem. So I think housing's another area that impacts teachers.
You had mentioned how society might be a way of prohibiting, as far as respect goes with teachers. Do you think this could be helped with a program, just raising awareness? How would you approach helping teachers gain respect again?
Yeah, that's really a tough question. because, you know, there are people that you're gonna find that even if you showed them these facts, and they're facts, I mean, they're still not gonna believe you. And so, you know, that's a good question. I don't really know the answer for that. I wish I did. Because we've gotta keep promoting our teachers and what they're doing. I mean, you look at, when Irma went through here, the teachers and everybody that were involved with raising funds or getting supplies, stuff like that to people, especially down in Everglades. I mean, Everglades, I mean, the school in Everglades is the center of that community. And so the principal and teachers at that school had to take over that responsibility of providing these things for them to get back on their feet. So, you know, you try to promote those things, but let me ask you a question. Why do you think they've lost respect? Anybody have a feeling on that? Why? Because I think we all agree that they don't have the same respect they had years ago.
Sure.
There's less connection with the students now. Like there's more technology in the classrooms, less one-on-one discussions with teachers. Like teachers used to be able to get up and just hold lectures, and you know, now it's a lot different than that. So I feel like you lack that connection with teachers.
And on top of that, changing social dynamics. I mean, students might not feel as connected with school in and of itself, meaning they're more apprehensive with bonding with their teachers more, and that sense is also echoed through the community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, maybe that's kind of the answer. Maybe the community is not hearing the respect from the students. So when they get home, they hear something other than good stuff, and so they lose their respect for the teacher. I don't know. That's a good point. Maybe that's what it is. So you guys need to shape up. I'm sorry, go ahead. Next question.
When you discussed like helping teachers put down payments on housing, how would you address like the teachers that aren't fresh out of college that are struggling to provide for their families?
You talk about like teachers with 10 years of experience, I mean, that aren't, yeah. Well, most of those people have been here long enough where they've established themselves somewhat, okay? But there's always going to be somebody that needs help. You know, and right now, I mean, I can't imagine that trying to find a place to rent for some of these people who have lost their houses is very difficult. I mean, now there's all kinds of building going on, but yeah, and the prices are going to go through the roof because people can get that amount of money. And most of the people who, fortunately or unfortunately, one way or another, the coastal area was hit the hardest, but the coastal area has the most ability to overcome the loss. It's still a loss, but still, they've got the financial things to do. Now, some places, like it came up Naples Bay, that's where the thing really came up through the bay, wiped out Kelly's Fish House and and a lot of houses down in that area, in the Bayshore area, where you've got very low income socioeconomic groups that live there. For them, it's going to be a lot more difficult. I mean, right now they're sleeping on their porches because they can't go in the houses, and because they don't have the money to get in a motel or live it out someplace else, or even to rent another house. So there's got to be ways to be able to get into those people. Now that might not necessarily be teachers, but almost, I would say, 30 to 40% of our teachers live in Fort Myers, in Lee County.
Wow.
Even though Lee County is getting more expensive too,
Yeah.
you know. So there's not much difference up there. But, you know, to help somebody that has been here a while, you know, I don't know, I think some of the banks and things are trying to help people by delaying payments, you know, where they don't have to pay for 2 months, 3 months, something like that on their mortgage. That's helpful. I don't know how the school system can help that other than trying to promote. We've identified 35 acres up by Manatee Middle School that we want to build, and we're reaching out to construction companies to see if they can build it for us. But we want to build temporary housing, essential housing we call it, so that people can move in there for 4 or 5 years. They save money because it's going to be a very cheap rent, and hopefully by the end of 5 years they'll have enough that they'll be able to put a down payment down in a house. So 35 acres, we can finally say you can get about 4 of these essential houses on an acre, so you're talking about 150 houses.
Yeah.
So that may be helpful to people.
Yeah.
Do you
I
think
also
that's-
identified Suncoast Credit Union has a hero's mortgage where the down payment's a lot less, so some teachers have used that.
Do you think that essential housing could also be a reasonable solution for teachers who have been impacted by? Because I know that even just in the area here, we have teachers who can't continue to educate here because of the financial burden that was caused by the hurricane and the fact that it's kind of tough to start over in an area such as Marco Island on a teacher's salary.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think that places like essential housing that help relieve the general population who have lost their homes and their belongings following the hurricane, do you think that could be a reasonable solution for teachers as well?
Well, one thing that I heard was that FEMA learned that providing, they provide trailers, FEMA does, and they would put them all on a lot, and that people would live in those trailers. But then they ran into problems with people who didn't have any place to go, and they just stayed in the trailers and they couldn't get them out. So what I've heard they're doing now is that they're providing trailers, but they're putting them in the driveways of the houses. In other words, if you had a house and you couldn't live in that house, they would put a trailer in your driveway while you got your house fixed up. And that way you would then move into your house and they'd get their trailer back. So there are different solutions to that. But the essential housing, mainly our thought is to provide a place where teachers can get a reasonable rent, reasonable place to live in a community with other teachers, so they can carpool to schools or whatever they want to do, and then earn enough money to eventually get out of there and move into a house someplace.
Okay, so I believe that those are all the questions that we prepared for you, but is there anything that you would like to add or that you feel that we missed?
First of all, I'm very impressed with your facility here. It's very nice.
Thank you.
And obviously it's brand new, and that's always exciting.
Yes.
But if you were to name 3 things, or just name one thing that you think the school really needs, what would that be?
When you say the school, do you refer to like a school in general or our school?
I'm talking about your school.
Okay.
I would definitely, I'm very big in the arts program here. I do like the theater program and everything. It's alarming how difficult it is to find funding in our particular school to support our productions that we want to put on. We also attend districts yearly.
Yeah.
And finding the funding just for simple things like that is very difficult. So I believe that finding ways to support the arts programs in a lot of schools is very important, and that should definitely be focused at this school as well.
Mhm.
I think in relation to the arts program as well, another important thing that we need here at the school is a very more consistent supply of good teachers. Because just in the recent, even just 2 years, we've
We've
had
been in this building.
yeah, since
That's
we've just
fair.
moved into the building, we've had a lot of issue with teachers just coming and going. Very transient, maybe just a semester, 2 semesters, we'll have a teacher. And that's due to a whole host of reasons, but I think that to support all the things that we want to do at the school, the programs, and then even our education, we could use more teachers that integrate into the the schools and become a part of the
So
school.
that's what goes back to what I said earlier,
Right.
consistency.
Yeah.
That's one thing that my district is Immokalee in Everglades. And what we've done out in Immokalee is that we've really identified that consistency is very important. And so we've moved some of our really good principals out to the Immokalee schools. And then teachers go out there, and actually a teacher in Immokalee makes about $2,000 more than a teacher in Naples, just due to travel expenses and other things. So our teaching corps has been more consistent. And that's what I think you're talking about. That, do you know why they are leaving? Do they go back up north, or do they?
There's a host of reasons. I know that one of which is the recent hurricane. We had our calculus teacher had to leave because she had nowhere to live anymore, no means to stay living in the area. We've had other math teachers leave because they felt the school environment wasn't necessarily a good fit. So I think that there are multiple reasons why teachers are leaving.
Right.
But despite that, I think it's important that we have, because even just as a school, we attach to those teachers that have been here a long time. Those are the teachers that are, being advisors for our different programs, like Mr. Scalia. Those are the people who are really getting involved in the school and that us students feel the most comfortable talking to them. Yeah, things like that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't know how I can help that, but
Sure.
it's a good thing to discuss. I mean, goes back to a lot of different things about teachers and why they're here, why they're not. I mean, just generally in Collier County, we have the same problems all over the district, really.
Personally, I feel that adding more further education opportunities almost, or higher education
Talking
opportunities.
about like AP courses and stuff like that.
Yes, we've got a selection of ACE courses here, but it gets to a point where sometimes, like for example, Grant and I are in calculus class. Next year we won't have a math class. We'll run out of classes to take. And I know for people trying to get their ACE diploma, a lot of which are here right now, you end up running out of courses. Or the courses that we have, granted they're great and they're very, very in-depth. But for example, we have an ACE history class, but that's very, very broad. We don't have anything with...
Is there anything you've done with like a virtual school?
A couple of people have reached out to try. For example, I know some people are taking further levels of foreign languages as online, but they said that those are just very, very nominal in their, like the actual
course.
Yeah, how much they're learning. They said that it's more or less just to check a box, and to have that more
Yeah, I'm
in-depth.
not a proponent of virtual education.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking of a way that you could, or maybe you could get the charter school, all the charter schools together, and you could do something like where distance learning, where Naples Classical Academy has a advanced math, calculus teacher, whatever, and they would teach at Naples Classical Academy, but they'd also teach different courses here where you could go sit in on that class actually.
Like a virtual.
It would be like distance learning. You'd have a teacher, they'd be at another school. We did that when I was at Lely. We did that with Everglades on a couple of classes. And then every once in a while the teacher would go down to visit the students in Everglades. But that might be something you might want to pursue as a possibility. if other schools have a teacher that way, that it would get, and you set up a distance learning lab here someplace, and during that class period, you just go and you sit down, and you have the ability to ask questions and talk back and forth with the teacher too. That might be something you might want to look into as a possibility.
On a similar topic to that, do you know if at other schools in Collier County, if there are currently or are any plans to integrate like AP type classes? Because I know we have ACE here, and I wasn't sure if other schools in Collier County had AP.
Other schools have AP, and they have Cambridge in the lower levels. They have AP classes. I mean, I don't know. I'm not familiar with ACE, so I'm not. But I know that, I mean, it wouldn't matter, even if it was an AP class someplace that you took, you'd get credit for it. And then if you pass it at a certain level, you get college credit for it. So, but I don't know the answer to that.
Do you know if they're...
You're just the camera guy, aren't you?
Yeah, sorry. Just was wondering about it because I'm used to the AP classes.
I'm just kidding.
Do you know what I'm sorry?
Oh, go ahead.
Do you know what it would take to involve more the AP classes into a charter school like this? Would it be more up to the school, or would that be more of a school
I would say that would be something that I would ask, or I would take to your principal, or take to Miss Watt, and let her make contact and see if something could be set up in that area. That's the way I would pursue it. I think that would solve your problem. It's not like having a teacher right there with you, even though you do communicate with the teacher in a distance learning situation. But it would at least give you the ability to take a upper level class higher than what you have, especially if you're a math person. I'm not, but we all aren't everything, right?
Yeah.
That's why everybody is different, and you have different things that you offer. But if you wanted to take an advanced class in math, it's an idea that you could do it where you didn't have to have a teacher to actually teach it. Plus, it'd only be one class probably, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So, anyway, it's a possibility.
Thank you.
I think the ACE program is a nice program. To qualify for, it's Florida Bright Futures, right?
Yep.
To qualify for that, you need to earn like 7 credits. So essentially that'd be 7 classes or less, because some classes offer 2 credits. At like last year I took AS and A level English, and the juniors are taking that this year. So the AS level offers 1 credit, but taking A level offers another, so you get 2 credits from that. But not everybody gets the 7 credits when they take the classes, so they either have to essentially like make up the tests or take another set of classes to make up for the loss of credits and qualify for Florida Bright Futures. I'm one of those students, so it's a very
why didn't you get credit for it?
I didn't pass the class.
Oh, okay.
It's for someone like me, it's kind of discouraging to want to continue and try and regain those credits to qualify, and this is my final year, so I have to take 2 tests, or maybe even 3, to get those credits back, because freshman year you take a general paper class and the credits only last for 3 years, so this being my 4th year, I've already lost that credit. So I just think if we had like another program like AP or something like that as another option, it'd be better. But like you said, that's something that we should kind of talk to Miss Scott.
Yeah, I would talk to Miss Scott or Miss Watt and bring that up to them and see what they say about it. I mean, you never know. You don't, if you don't ask, you'll never get it.
Right.
Mhm.
You know, plus you could go on, can't you go on, you could go on Florida Virtual School,
Right, yeah.
and you could pick up credit there, I would think, AP.
Some options are dual enroll, which is kind of like distance learning,
Yeah.
except it's
Yeah.
through a college. I am taking a dual enroll class at the moment, and that has been helpful, but even then the selections are a little bit scarce.
Yeah.
Then it becomes more on your plate too,
Yeah.
if you already have really
Oh yeah,
heavy
if you have a
classes.
full schedule, you take another class,
Yeah,
sure is, I mean, but, you know, it helps, I mean, if you can get if you can get the bright futures, you know, financially
it's really
it's a big help,
yeah.
you know, so anything you can do to try to do that, you should try to follow through with it,
Yeah.
so.
Anyone else have anything to add?
Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah,
Thank you.
again.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We really appreciate it.
If I could get this sticker out of here, I'd put it on.
But yeah, thank you again for coming.
Well, thank you for inviting me, I enjoyed it, and, see, one thing you miss when you retire, when you've been in education, I've been in education here in Collier County for 44 years, and the biggest thing that I always enjoyed was being with students. And when you're not, when I went to work at the Ed Center for 3 years, and it drove me crazy, because it's like quiet. You know, and so when I get in a situation like this, it kind of energizes me a little bit, because you know, it's an open conversation, nobody's trying to get anything or anything else, but you know, I think it brings out the best in you. Anyway, I enjoyed it.
You
Thank you.
you mentioned that you were principal at Laley
Yeah.
during '96 to 2003 or 4.
2003, yeah.
Do you happen to know another Jorge Rodriguez?
I recognize the name, yes.
That my father graduated 2000.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah, he actually used to tell me stories about going to school late and bringing McDonald's breakfast to all the admin
Yeah.
as a way of like
Of buying them off.
buying them off. Yeah.
Well, see, I wasn't in that. I was the principal, so he
Okay.
wouldn't have come to me. But probably Mr. Friedland was the discipline guy at that time
Okay.
in that office, and so, and then there were other secretaries there that I'm sure
Yeah.
he paid off.
Yes.
McDonald's early in the morning.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
figured I'd ask.
But we had a lot of fun at Laley. We had one year they came to me and they said, we want to have a pro wrestling match here. And I, being really smart, I said, well, listen, if you get the money, because I knew it cost them $2,000 or $3,000 to get all the things there. You get the money, I'll let you have this wrestling match. Dang, they didn't go out and get the money. So then we had to put on a wrestling match. With pro wrestlers and all this kind of stuff. I mean,
Wow.
geez. Well, anyway, it was fun.
That's
Well,
cool.
I enjoyed it.
Yes, thank you
Thank
again.
you again.
It was nice to meet you.
Say hello to your dad.
I will. I will tell him.
Yeah.